The story begins in medias res, that means in the middle, during a botched casino heist in which a young man, only known by his alias Joker, is sold out by one of his fellow accomplices while making his escape to divert the attention from the rest of his crew. We will learn about the origins of this predicament, but not before we are shown the events that led to this operation, as well as his capture. 2 years prior, Joker intervenes when an innocent bystander, a woman, is accosted by a drunken man in the street. The man was in a powerful position and saw to it that Joker faced legal consequences. He was charged with misdemeanor assault and labeled as a criminal, expelled from his school, and sent away to escape the frenzy of negative attention. Pegged as a troublemaker, this reputation follows him to his new home in Shujin, where he is under the guardianship of Sojiro Sakura. Around the same time as Joker's arrival in Shibuya, mental shutdowns coincide with a mysterious app being installed on Joker's phone. A train engineer has a mental collapse and wrecks a train, killing just about everyone on board. After enrolling in a new school, Shujin Academy, Joker briefly exchanges glances with a alluring fashion model and Takamaki as she accepts a carpool ride to school from a pompous man. Her expression turns to gloom as she takes a seat inside of the car and drives away. At this very same intersection and a critical juncture in our story, a fellow, also considered a delinquent, known as Ryuji Sakamoto, makes his appearance, muttering something foul about the driver of the car, Mr. Kamashita. We will learn more about him very soon. Ryuji is a former track star that fell from grace due to an injury and also an altercation with the very same gym teacher, Mr. Kamashita. Kamashita is an Olympic medalist and is treated as a celebrity at Shujin and the local township. He is well respected and enjoys significant authority at the school, and he is known for being especially demanding with his athletes. Joker and Ryuji stumble upon a castle on the route to school. There, they meet a magic cat named Morgana. Here at this mysterious castle, slaves are being kept and the place is run by an evil Kamashita. Not to Ryuji's surprise, Ryuji has always suspected the man of being a pervert and a sadist. Kamashita orders his armored guards to execute the pair, but a blue butterfly appears and spurs on Joker's persona power. The two are able to overpower the guards and escape while Kamashita flees. They meet the magic talking cat named Morgana, who promises to help them leave if they help him become human again. Struggling to comprehend their situation, Morgana details the inner working of the metaverse and the nature of personas. Metaverse travel works by using an app installed on a phone along with a target's name, a certain location, and a keyword. Although they are still in disbelief, they go along with it, determined to uncover the truth about Kamashita. Back in the real world, Ryuji and Joker do some investigative work while snooping on Kamashita in plain sight, and it is here that they witness obvious physical abuse at hand during a volleyball practice game. They attempt to uncover further evidence behind the scenes, eventually getting a confession out of students Mishima and Ann Takamaki. The very same Ann Takamaki, the blue-eyed beauty that inspires lust from literally every male character in the game. Despite this, she is an outcast just as well, with her only real friend being Shiho, a member of Kamashita's prestigious volleyball team. Both of these girls have been under the thumb of Kamashita, with Shiho bearing the brunt of it the worst. Anne tries her best to avoid Kamashita in stall time, and all the while she is ashamed of her own keeping quiet. But meanwhile, Shiho falls prey and is most likely violated by Kamashita. With another further infiltration into the metaverse, Ryuji awakens his own persona power, provoked to save Joker. Everything eventually comes to a head when Shiho attempts suicide, and in retaliation, Anne joins forces with Joker and Ryuji to infiltrate the metaverse and steal Kamashita's heart. In order to steal his heart, they must first steal his treasure, or his inner desire that distorts his worldview and fuels his crimes. The palace is merely a representation of how Kamashita really feels about himself and his domain, in this case, the school. Palaces reflect the desires and the distorted mind of their host and take shape based on those parameters. The group wants to change his heart, not to kill him, lest they inadvertently cause another mental shutdown. It is here that Anne, in disgust, awakens her persona and escapes the clutches of Kamoshida, and then there were 3. 4 if you count Morgana. Eventually, they do locate the treasure, which only materializes once the real person is aware. To this effect, they have to send a calling card in the real world, which puts the target on high alert and allows them to steal the treasure and change the heart. Following the sudden confession of Kamoshida and his misdeeds, all eyes turn to discovering the identities of the newly formed Phantom Thieves of Hearts and their modus operandi of sending a calling card. The Phantom Thieves decided their motto is to reform the adults that commit severe crimes, helping themselves in the process, and aiding their self-actualization process. The Phantom Thieves bring new members under their tutelage with each new target, with a shared goal of being to reform the bad adults of society and prove their worth beyond their outcast statuses. As the syndicate grows, members of the Phantom Thieves gradually awaken to their power triggered from a traumatic event at their own expense. They all use aliases while traveling the metaverse as to not be found out by the person guarding the palace. Their names are Joker, Panther, Mona, Skull, Queen, Fox, Noir, Crow, and Violent. We will get to how they all joined. In the metaverse, Kamoshida's treasure is represented as a crown, as he sees himself as the king of Shujin Academy. But in the real world, his treasure is an Olympic gold medal. The Phantom Thieves sell it for 30,000 yen and celebrate at his expense, and also to commemorate their first heist together. It is at this meal that serves as the founding assembly of the Phantom Thieves. Their next target is an artist named Madarame. They are first coming aware of this target courtesy of the talented budding art student Yusuke Kitagawa. Yusuke is obsessed and wants to paint a nude portrait of Anne, even going so far as to threaten to call the police if she doesn't comply. Meanwhile, they set their sights on Madarame. He stole the subject of his apprentice's paintings and passed them off as his own. Yusuke's mother was his most famous work, the Sayuri. Yusuke doesn't want to hear any of the slander aimed at his father figure and threatens to call the police on the Phantom Thieves. He later comes to his senses about Madarame and vows to expose him to justice. They eventually stop Madarame at his castle, steal his treasure, which is the Sayuri, and Yusuke formally joins the Phantom Thieves. It is around this time that the Phantom Thieves grow in popularity, with the public being fascinated by their exploits. Then emerges Goro Akechi, a teenager wunderkind and ace detective extraordinaire that has caused quite a sensation and grown into a minor celebrity. He frequents tabloid talk shows and starts bad-mouthing the Phantom Thieves, hypothesizing that they are responsible for the mental shutdowns and therefore should be treated as a menace. During the same time, the principal blackmails Makoto, an apt pupil and the smartest kid in school, into digging up dirt around the school. The principal insinuates that he would be a thorn in her side regarding entrance exams, and that he can make things difficult for her older sister's job, as he is secretly conspiring with higher-ups regarding the mental shutdowns. Sometime later, as the thieves await their next target, Makoto overhears a conversation incriminating the Phantom Thieves and coerces them into helping take down a man by the name of Kaneshiro. Kaneshiro is a mafia boss who specializes in money laundering. Makoto is later captured by him and held for ransom for nearly 3 million yen. The thieves are then given a deadline and they must infiltrate the palace and steal Kaneshiro's heart. Makoto reluctantly aids the Phantom Thieves, hastily trying to prove her worth and her intellect after feeling useless in her failure to inform on Kamoshida and the fractured relationship she experiences with her sister, Sai Nijima. After stopping Kaneshiro, they learn of another mysterious figure infiltrating palaces and manipulating the hosts for their own gain. Kaneshiro's treasure ends up being a briefcase full of fake money. Having a bunch of idle time, not having another target, the thieves are blackmailed by a hacker known as Medjed that wants them to steal their own heart. In uncovering this person's identity, it proves to be none other than the adopted daughter of Sojiro, Futaba. Futaba is the daughter of the late Wakaba Ishiki, a researcher of cognitive science. Futaba is an introverted hermit who lives in her room and has no intention of meeting with people in the outside world. In order to steal her heart, they get into her pyramid palace, and the treasure is Futaba herself. After battling a demonic version of Wakaba Ishiki, Futaba finally realizes the truth, that she is not responsible for her mother's murder, and then she joins the Phantom Thieves to search for the
Was it all coincidence?
Next, the thieves set their sights on the president of Okumura Foods, a man who has overworked his employees and neglected their safety, forcing an arranged marriage on his daughter, schoolmate Haru. His treasure is a model spaceship he had from his youth. Before Okumura can confess to his crimes and reveal his co-conspirators, he has a mental shutdown, triggering a heart attack, and he dies at the podium, to everyone's horror. The school principal of Shujin is next to follow. He suffers the same fate en route to turn himself into the police. The very next day, a calling card found on the school principal's body raises a red flag, thereby implicating the Phantom Thieves as the culprits. Sai Nijima is then appointed to lead a special task force to stop the Phantom Thieves. Akechi grows concerned and distances himself from Nijima, who seems to be acting outside of her principles and the principles of the law, as well as being increasingly paranoid, having accused Akechi of stealing data from her laptop. Around the same time, Akechi deduces the true identity of the Phantom Thieves, having caught them in the act of visiting the metaverse, but he makes a deal with them to withhold the information from the public in order to find the true culprit by teaming up. Under mounting pressure, Nijima closes in on the Phantom Thieves. Akechi gives intel that she may falsify evidence just to catch a culprit, and so they decide to steal her heart. In the end, they never actually find her treasure, but she later tells Joker that she treasures most the ability to protect those close to her, which includes Joker, who gave her a change of heart not by stealing the treasure, but by showing her the error of her ways. Her palace is a casino because of how she views the gamble of being a prosecutor. Makoto wishes to save her sister as well as to preserve the Phantom Thieves. After defeating the Shadow Sai, the palace begins to rumble and mass traces of enemies begin to converge. The band splits up, with Joker taking the treasure and diverting attention away from his gang so that they can make a clean break. It is at this point that we return to the beginning. Joker is cornered and outnumbered by shadows when a mysterious figure emerges from darkness to aid him in battle, promptly turning the tide in his favor. It is none other than Kasumi. Kasumi, a brilliant star gymnast, stumbles upon a palace that is materialized in the middle of the city. Joker rescues her as her powers awaken and then the palace disappears. Joker then makes a promise to Kasumi to help her train harder. Kasumi showing up like this is just her way of returning the favor. She does not want to join the Phantom Thieves, but sees that he still has work to do, but reminds him of the promise that he made previously. Still, after making his exit from the palace, Joker is unable to abscond the police as, to his apparent surprise, he is met by the police right outside. They take him in and severely beat him into signing a confession, but he abstains. It is at this point that none other than Sai Nijima, able to finagle her way into the interrogation room, intervenes. Sai is pissed as she too received a playing card, and she feels vindicated even though the theft of her heart failed. As a result, she is initially not very trusting of Joker. Still, she senses that something is amiss as Joker was clearly betrayed. Joker refuses to rat out his friends and make a deal with her, but maintains his innocence in regards to the mental shutdown crisis and the death of Okumura. Joker is unable to remember certain key events, but is able to convince Sai of the veracity pertaining to certain pivotal details of the investigation, which is enough for her to believe in him, as she has always suspected a third party being involved. Joker gives her a phone to hand to the true culprit that she somehow deduces to be a man. She takes the phone and leaves, forging a sort of confidant deal with Joker. It is right then that Akechi appears and reveals that it was he who betrayed the Phantom Thieves, wanting the recognition of their capture all to himself. Now Sai understands. She offers the phone to Akechi, who denies that it is his. A sound is made on the phone that stirs Akechi, although he is too focused to be deterred by this seemingly inconsequential act. He barges right into the interrogation room, and as he makes his way in, he steals the guard's pistol, kills him, and then shoots Joker in the head, killing him and then making it look like a suicide. He then calmly walks away. Meanwhile, Sai hears a recording incriminating Akechi in a conspiracy to commit murder and frame the Phantom Thieves. Soon after, the public becomes aware of the death of the leader of the Phantom Thieves. But later, in a further twist of events, we learn that the Phantom Thieves were in on Joker's apparent death, as they had suspected Akechi from the start to be a traitor. Earlier, when he slipped up at their first meeting regarding a comment made by Morgana about pancakes. Such a trivial clue tipped them off because there is no way that Akechi could have interpreted Morgana without first having visited the metaverse himself. The real Joker was in custody in the real world, but a cognitive version of Joker resided inside of Sai's palace was used to fake out Akechi. The phone was used to transport Akechi at the right time back into the palace and back into the room with a fake Joker and a fake cognitive guard. Aspiring politician Masayoshi Shido is revealed to be the mastermind behind the shutdowns, with a subservient yet ambitious Akechi as his accomplice. Shido wishes to gain control of the masses through his political movement, turn the tide of public opinion in his favor by implicating the Phantom Thieves for Okumura's death. All the while, the real culprit was a mysterious man in a black mask that also travels to the metaverse and has been abusing and manipulating the hosted palaces for his own personal gain. Shido was the one responsible for Wakaba's death, as he stole the research about cognitive science so that he could use it for his own dastardly plans. It is in the middle of infiltrating Shido's palace aboard a cruise ship that Akechi shows the true nature of his psychopathic tendencies. Akechi confirms his identity as the bastard son of Shido and plans on getting his revenge on him at his weakest moment. But as Akechi is defeated by the Phantom Thieves, he is ambushed by a shadow version, a cognitive version of Akechi and his minions that turn their attention to assassinating him, revealing Shido's true feelings toward him, as he sees him as expendable and merely a pawn. Akechi also has the ability to have multiple personas and can switch between Robin Hood and Loki, making him an extra powerful foe for the thieves to deal with. Ultimately, it appears that Akechi succumbs to his wounds, and the Phantom Thieves march on to avenge him. Shido turns out to be the man that also framed Joker for the assault. As they defeat Shido, his treasure is revealed to be his legislator pen in the shape of a wheel, symbolizing his warped ideology that only he can steer Japan in the right direction forward. As the ship palace implodes, at Shido's defeat, after he swallows a pill to collapse the palace, Ryuji almost dies, but uses his running skills to save the rest of the gang. With Shido's apprehension, the public, to the surprise of the Phantom Thieves, is apathetic, having lost faith in their savior as well as the authorities. The Phantom Thieves, under the guidance of Morgana and at the behest of Sainijima, invade Mementos to steal the hearts of the people. Mementos, being the cognition of the masses, is the only way to clear the names of the Phantom Thieves and restore order, as well as to find out about the true origins of Morgana's creation. A deity is controlling the will of the shadows locked away in Mementos and is fueled by their outcry. They want to be mindless sheep and simply be guided by Yaldabaoth, no longer having to think for themselves. After doing battle with an apparition of Yaldabaoth, the Phantom Thieves slowly disappear from the people's cognition, almost drifting away from reality entirely. They end up imprisoned in the Velvet Room, where Joker awakens to a corrupt and possessed Igor who orders his execution, telling him that he has failed his rehabilitation and that humanity is doomed for ruin. It was much earlier in the story that the protagonist awakens in shackles to an old, pale man named Igor, who is rather sinister looking, along with two twin wardens that are there to aid him on his rehabilitation to save humanity from certain ruin. Igor calls him the Trickster and says that he is bound by contract. Throughout the game, Morgana suffers from recurring nightmares about being born in Mementos, all the while contemplating his true form and struggling with the recollection of his past. Joker, meanwhile, dreams of visiting the Velvet Room nightly, receiving cryptic instructions and words of encouragement from Igor. It is here that Caroline and Justine sense something is amuck, but do battle with Joker anyway. A voice calls out to them. They then notice that they are actually one and the same, and their memory is restored to them that Igor in front of them is not their true master, and that they had been separated into two people but were originally one, called Lavenza, a benevolent spirit. Joker refuses the evil possessed Igor's deal, and Igor, like an exorcism, is restored to his true self, and Joker fuses Caroline and Justine into Lavenza. Joker then rallies the moral support of his troops, and they learn the truth about Morgana. He is indeed a cat, born in the Velvet Room to guide the Trickster on his journey. Akechi was to be his rival, and the fate of humanity was to be decided by who won this battle between Joker's will to rebel or Akechi's need to reset the world in his favor. The Phantom Thieves then return to Mementos to face the Holy Grail, who turns out to be the Demon King Yaldabaoth. At the cusp of defeat, Morgana rises up to speak for humanity's sake and rally the people's cognition in the favor of the Phantom Thieves. After defeating Yaldabaoth by summoning Sataniel at the people's will, they return to the world where Morgana disappears. Morgana makes his peace, saying that he is proud to have helped the humans which he admires. He hints that the metaverse was created by cognition, and that even the world itself can be recreated through cognition, the subject of cognitive science. As Mementos disappears, so does Morgana, as his existence is tied to Mementos. Morgana later reappears because of the cognition that kept him alive in their hearts and how they view a real place for him in the world. On Christmas Eve, Akechi reappears, offering to take the blame for his crimes and to absolve Joker so he doesn't have to go to jail. The events fast forward to New Year's Day, where suddenly something is wrong. Akechi has been released from prison, and the entire reality is distorted. Moruki became the leader of the final palace and recreated a reality where Morgana was a blue-eyed stud in human form, Akechi was alive, and Kasumi isn't actually Kasumi, but rather she was responsible for her sister's death and is actually Sumire, who was saved by her older sister from a moving vehicle. She wanted to fulfill the destiny Kasumi couldn't have, so Dr. Moruki changed the reality to suit her cognition. He wanted to end all suffering in the world and have people acknowledge his research. Moruki manipulated all of the main protagonists throughout the story to gain insight into their wishes, and then he took over Mementos to gain the power of all of the people that supported the Phantom Thieves. Moruki's treasure is a torch of guidance. During the Day of Reckoning, Yaldabaoth unintentionally removed the torch from Adam Kadmon, degenerating it into Azathoth and driving Moruki insane as a result. Moruki fuses this torch with the remains of Azathoth and restores it into Adam Kadmon as a last-ditch attempt to protect his reality. Once stolen, it reveals its true form as the newsletter about the murder of Rumi's family. Rumi was Dr. Moruki's girlfriend, and her family was murdered. As a result, she suffered irrevocable trauma. Initially, Sumire is unable to accept the truth regarding her sister and refuses to go back to a reality where she cannot be Kasumi. Maruki preys on this and kidnaps her, while also beckoning the evolution of her persona. Just in time, the remaining Phantom Thieves join in, also being unable to accept a reality where Maruki has control. Akechi fully understands that he will likely be erased if they revert reality, but he refuses to operate under someone else's absolute authority. Later, Sumire comes to her senses, joins forces with Joker and the others to take down Maruki and change his heart. When all is said and done, they return reality to normal. A world where Morgana is actually a cat. Joker is imprisoned, Akechi is missing, Wagaba and Okamura are gone, and everyone is ready to split up and go their separate ways. But not before they compile enough evidence to free Joker from prison and say a proper goodbye to him and Morgana.